What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of True Beast. I'm here at my buddy's house. We're going to talk about his personal build that he did started a couple of years ago, and I would like to share with you guys what he did and all the stuff he has done to the car and how it's running and how he likes to drive around. So hopefully you guys enjoy it, and subscribe and leave a comment and like, please. What's going on, my brother?
What up, man?
This is my buddy Jordan, and he's going to talk about his VR6 swap Jetta, and hopefully he can explain to you guys what he did, why he did, and hopefully you guys can copy or do the same build, and hopefully they're liking, huh? What do you think?
I like it.
All right.
Yeah, so 1986 Jetta. It had some damage history to it. Ended up getting the car for pretty cheap. Because of that, we could tear it apart and disgrace this chassis. As you can probably see, this is where the damage hit. It was ran over by good old minivan. But from there, it was an old CIS car, Mark II. As most of you know, VR6 was never in a Mark II. So we modified the chassis a lot. I guess basic parameters of the 86 is this is now sitting on a Mark III chassis. Got the Mark III drive shafts and everything, so I could do five lug conversion on the tires to hold the torque down. New drive shafts, new CV joints, rebuilt the transmission, LSD in the trans, VR6 for the 93. An old OBD1 setup, but OBD doesn't really count anymore now that we went on to a standalone ECU. From there, got the motor, had a machine shop bore it out for us, set everything up. We built it, we put it together, dropped the compression down to 8:1, fully forged rods, pistons, crank, rebuilt the head, +1 on the head, +1 on pistons, Faro valves all the way through. Dual valve springs on the heads, 268. I think they're BC cams. S366 SXE turbo. It's currently 27 pounds of boost. Air to water intercooler, all custom built. Yeah.
So the real question is, I'm pretty sure a lot of people want to ask is, what made you make all that good stuff into this 86 Jetta?
As probably most of us start, it was a cheap project that I could get my hands into and start somewhere.
There you go. That's something to do. There you go.
It wasn't an expensive project to begin with, and slowly became really expensive. But at least it gets you in a start somewhere. You know, I think I purchased the whole car for $500 and was cruising around 2 weekends later for less than $1,000.
Well, I'm pretty sure a lot of boys and girls would like to know what you got under the hood, and if you'd like to explain to us what you did and what you did.
Yeah, come take a look.
All right, let's do it.
This old 86 hood.
All right, this is where you guys are going to see what this guy did to his car.
So we could start off by just putting in these nice new Jeep headlights.
Let me see them.
It
Ooh,
brights
nice.
up the night when you need it.
Okay.
The bumper had to be pushed out a few inches to be able to put the air-to-water cooler
Okay.
and the bigger radiator in.
So I want to ask you about that water to air intercooler. Is how good is that actually works in the high temperatures like we are right now? We're about like 90, 95 degrees usually.
You know, without going into some big fancy physics terms, it is water cooled air, and that water without a cooler is going to be ambient temperature. So it'll hold its own, not its primary use. Normally water to air is usually an icebox setup where you're trying to get sub-ambient, get those temperatures down. But I haven't seen any bad issues. You know, the boost that I'm running, I'm roughly 100 degrees Fahrenheit intake temps. I might see 110 on a really hot day. Cold days, mornings, nights, you know, it's 85 to 90 all day long. So.
Nice. Okay. All right. Well, let's check out this beast right here and see. This looks great, man. Pretty good job.
A lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of trial and errors.
Okay. All right. Well, give us some details what you did.
Yeah, where to start? So I guess we could start bottom end. Like I said, fully forged crank rods, pistons. They're Wasser pistons, straight out of the good old Germany. +1 on the pistons. Other than that, it's a factory block. No real modifications to that. Head is a factory 12 valve head, +1 to the valves, Farah valves all the way around, intakes and exhaust valves. 268 cams with their respective dual spring valve springs. We did replace the lifters to lightweight lifters to handle the RPMs that I'm putting into it.
So what's your RPMs now?
We're still kind of in the test and tune phase. So right now I believe redline's 7,200.
Okay.
I think there's a lot more in it, but as we keep pushing the boost pressures up, we're keeping it safe. So we're keeping it down.
Nice. Okay. What size turbo are you running?
So this is a Warner S366 SXE.
Okay. Nice. 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 So what's your coil setup right here?
These are IGN 1As. They are fairly new to the car. We maybe got them set up 2-3 weeks ago and actually working on the new ECU. As most of you know, IGN 1As are going to be your highest outputs, your most reliable and high horsepower kind of builds.
Okay. What's your injector sizes?
Injectors are 1050Xs, IDs.
Nice. Okay. So on your ECU, so did you went straight to Haltech or did you?
Yeah. So this car originally, again, test and tune, trial and error. Originally, this car, I bought a kit that already had a C2 chip in the ECU. It was set up for 440C injectors and I want to say a 52 mil turbo or something like that. I never could get it working right. Put an MS3 Pro Evo on this car, rewired the whole thing by hand. There is no factory wire left in this car. And came up to some limitations, and I don't know where those limitations came about. A lot of it was just an unknown. You know, it was the first time playing with a standalone, it was the first time with software, but we had issues with cold starts. The car ran great, ran boost, everything ran great, but for some reason when temperatures dropped below 50, it just would not start. We couldn't figure it out. Had multiple tuners look at it, couldn't do it. And I don't know if it was Mega Squirt or I don't know if it was something with the car. Not blaming names here, but it just, we couldn't figure it. So we also had some problems on the top end. And again, and not blaming the ECU or anything, because I did a lot of changes between the Mega Squirt and to what I currently have. And we were starting to hit 23, 24 pounds of boost, and we were blowing spark out even though we were down to 0.17, 0.18, somewhere around there on the sparks. But it was still blowing them out. But don't know if it's the ECU, but the IGNs could have fixed that. But either way, I found that my new current setup on the Haltech is a lot easier to maintain and control, and has a lot more options into the fact and easier to navigate.
Nice.
This is a good word for it. So right now it's sitting on a Haltech 2500 Elite.
Okay.
With that, we have the capability to go drive-by-wire.
How do you like that?
It's life-changing. Drive-by-wire, if you need to dump money into something and you just have a pocket full of cash that you want to drop into something, convert it. Get rid of that cable and get drive-by-wire, because your life is 10 times better. Cold start's better. You don't feel the car kick the fans on anymore. It idles up for anything and everything. It just knows what to do and how to do it. And the drive-by-wire is the necessity for that.
Yeah, because a lot of people will say that they like to have the physical cable so that way they have control of the throttle, whatever they have to do. But in your case, you're saying that drive-by-wire are actually changing your world, right?
I could see that. So I could see how people will enjoy the feeling of the car, but when you're getting to these kind of power levels, I think the more the ECU can keep you safe, the better. And drive-by-wire is just another element that ECU can keep the motor alive.
Nice. Okay, well, let's talk about how the hell did you fit this motor in this car?
Good question. Did a lot of research. There's a lot of companies, or actually there's not a lot of companies, but there's a few out there, not to be named, that have conversion kits to change the front subframe, which will modify the engine mounts and everything that'll drop in.
Okay.
Some of those companies had horrible reviews and a lot of unsafe practices. So we ended up fitting in ourselves some custom fabricated garage home built stuff.
Okay.
There's 3 engine mounts on a VR6, one back left, one back right, and front center. Back left is factory, VR6, bolts right into the Mark II chassis. Actually, sorry, the back left will bolt right in, but the motor sits too high, so that factory rubber boot needs to be shaved about an inch to drop the back of the motor down to clear the hood from shutting, unless you want to cut your hood.
Which we have it there.
that needs to be replaced, because I don't need that anymore.
Nice, okay.
Back right mount, that's the trans mount, fits right in, bolts right on, no changes there. And then the front mount, if you want to get a good shot of that, was a solid mount that we welded and built.
Well,
ourselves.
let's see. Let's see if we can get that shot. Oh, there it is. I kind of noticed that you have a different type of alternator here. What was that case?
Long story short, to push the power numbers that we were seeking, we have a lot more fuel pumps, along with the water to air pump to feed that intercooler. A lot more electrics in the trunk, a lot more all around, a lot more draw. So Volkswagen on the VR6, I believe they have an option of a 90 or 120 amp alternator. I had the 120 and it couldn't keep the battery up. When I was on boost and everything was running, it was dying. And if most of you guys probably already know, when you go to electronic ignition, voltage is huge on duty cycle and dead time. And especially when I was losing voltage inside of my power band, when all the pumps are kicking on and everything's trying to maintain that power level, I was volt sagging pretty hard. We were 13 and a half volts when idling, and we were seeing 11s under boost, and that was purely all the pumps turning on.
That's nice. Okay.
So that is I could be wrong here, but that's a JC alternator, custom built. Went from 120 amp to 370. Had them custom build it to be self-ignite, so it doesn't need to go into any of the harness, didn't need to wire anything other than a hot cable to it. All those issues went away.
Nice.
No more problems.
Okay, well, now that we know everything about the motor and everything else, so what kind of clutch you're running?
It is a Clutch Masters 725 unsprung twin disc.
Oh, there you go. So how's the drivability on that?
It is a race car clutch.
Do you get that sore knee?
Sore ankles, sore calves. Being such a light car, that clutch engages, and let's just say you're not going on any dates where they're not filling the car.
No drive-thrus for you, right?
And squealing, you know, unsprung, you know, it sounds like a pig trying to squeal itself forward.
Okay. Well, explain us a little bit about the body. So what did you do towards the suspension-wise, wheel-wise, tires, and interior?
Yeah, it's a body, 1986 body. As you can see, it's got the Jeep headlights, big bumper. It actually was a small bumper that the previous owner had put on it. Now we went big bumper to fit all the coolers in there. Yeah, with the Mark III frame, we got the 5-bolt, so we got just the factory 5-bolt Jetta wheels. Brought those in with some Nitto tires. Nothing, anything special, rubber feet. It was more just a test and make sure it's running. So we'll get some better feet when everything's dialed in. The car originally had Raceland's Primos or Ultimos. I think it was Primo coilovers on it. Previous owner had this static, about ½ inch off the ground. No clue how he drove it like that, but it was. With the new weight that this motor's putting in it, those coils couldn't handle it. We had to max them out just to get it off the ground. Then it was like driving on stilts. There really wasn't any drivability in it. So we actually just installed a few weeks ago some KW V2s.
Ooh, those are some good ones.
Night and day. You know, this car went from full race car status to driving an hour and you're painful to I can go a full tank and be fine. I can't say enough about KWs. It changed this whole dynamic.
No more sore butt?
No more sore butt. It was unnerving to take corners because the car wouldn't roll, but it was so solid that it would like step over. It would hit a bump and it would step over.
Kind of jump over the bumps,
yeah,
whatever.
There was no confidence in that. And with these KWs, it absorbs all that.
Okay.
The turns are a lot better. The drivability is good. I was able to soften up the rears so that my offset of weight. So now everything's compressing good and
so you got some travel.
nice and soft. Nice and soft.
Nice. Okay. Well, let's talk about the interior. Did you do anything to the interior?
Okay. Energy seats.
Ooh, looks like dog likes it.
Yeah, dog loves it.
I gotta admit, they look pretty good. Ooh, I can notice that you got a nice shifter over there. What's up about that?
So shifter, again, in one of those trial and error things, we had a diesel short shifter mod on the transmission and kept the factory stick. It just was a bad position for me as a bigger guy myself, reaching down to shift gears, especially under the power, was just not feasible. It wasn't comfortable. It didn't do it right. It didn't promote any confidence in the car. So removed that, went back to the factory shift box on and tower on the transmission, and installed this short shifter. I will link the name because I have no clue. I forgot the name of the guy that built it. Super good company. For the life of me, I can't remember it. They powder coated it for me, set it all up, and it was basically a bolt-in kind of swap to the factory shifter, and it brings a real gated feel to the car. Most Volkswagens are really soft, and you know, you're placing shift forks and you're trying to get that gated feel to the car. This was just one-stop shop, and it sets it up higher so you're comfortable shifting. It has endless opportunities to upgrade. If you wanted a sequential box, you just transfer that thing over and it'll be a pop shift.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But for the 5-speed that's in it, it's great. It feels gated, feels good, short shifts.
Nice and crispy.
Nice and crispy.
So you got some dash right here. It looks like you're not using the OEM dash anymore. So what's that?
So the car was old enough that the dash was pretty much all ran by mechanical wires. You know, your speedo was a wire, everything was wires. So the conversion to the VR6, which wasn't wire, most of the stuff didn't work. And I know there's dash conversions to put the Mark III dash in it and get a lot of those electronics working. But if you're tearing the dash apart, why not just put, in my mind, why not just put the best in there?
Nice. Okay. All right.
So Haltech dash, Haltech ECU, Haltech CAN bus. This car's been converted CAN bus, and that controls everything.
Yeah, that's something you don't see every day. Looks like you got some nice stereo as well. Kind of sets up the interior of the car. It's actually pretty nice and clean. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, Amazon special. Amazon special radio. If you guys were asking about the water-to-air intercooler.
Oh, okay.
Battery relocated rear. That's the ice box in the center.
What about that license plate right there?
That was the previous owner's plate that is now holding the battery down.
That's the way to do it.
Radium surge tank. Got twin 450s in there, and then a in-tank pump that I believe is, yeah, we left that factory. That's factory Mark II pump that's feeding that surge tank.
Oh, okay. Well, that's something you don't see every day in 86 Jetta's trunk, huh?
Yeah,
That's really nice.
All the way down to the wiring. Everything was built by us and wired by us, so hopefully no fires.
There you go. Looks like you got dual tips. What's up with that?
I wanted to be the one Volkswagen that had dual exhaust.
Okay.
So single exhaust, 3-inch all the way through. Has a cutout. So one exhaust in has a butterfly valve, so I can have a cutout that comes out in one tip, or the other tip straight piped. A few months ago or so, it was rattling. A few weeks after that, I'm assuming my exhaust pressures were just too much. I blew that butterfly valve right out the tail.
Ooh.
So right now it's straight piped with dual tips.
Well, that's the thing. So me and the boys and everybody else watching would like to hear how this car actually sounds now that you have all the swap and everything else.
Yeah, sure. Grab the keys.
All right, let's hear this thing cold start. You haven't started it today, have you?
No, hasn't been started.
All right, well, let's see how this ECU and stuff does in the cold.